Okay, welcome to episode 6. Today's the 12th of March, and it's my dad's 94th birthday today. So,
Happy birthday.
yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Isn't birthday's good for your health? Isn't that what you always say?
Oh, yeah, well, I got a birthday card a couple years ago, and it says, birthdays are good for your health. The more you get, the longer you live.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's March 12th, and a week ago today, we have a snow pile out there that everybody's been wondering how long it lasts. So a week ago, we put a pot on the coffee table, and everybody's throwing a dollar bill in and trying to guess what date that thing's going to be gone, and it's going a lot faster than I thought it would.
Yeah, but I'm going to win it. I got the 31st.
I got the 30th. So.
I'll flash some pictures up in the video here, kind of showing what the pile looked like a week ago and what it looks like.
It's really caused a lot of arguments in the store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking the other day. I might not win, but you're sure not going to win.
Right.
I tell you, there's a lot of March left, and on my birthday, I've seen everything from blizzards to a balmy day. Mm-hmm. One day I came home from country school, and my dad had just plowed the garden, and my mom was out there working fresh dirt in her bare feet, so it was a pretty nice day. Wow. And I remember when it was blowing snow and so cold that who knows what happens in March.
Right. Yeah.
What about 94 years ago? Anyone ever tell you?
Well, all I know, I was born at home.
Yeah.
But
you didn't remember
I don't
hearing
remember.
what anybody said
I don't
about
quite remember
kinda deal with
how it all happened there. But anyway,
Yeah.
So did a doctor come out from Cumberland or Lyman?
yeah.
Yeah.
In those days, everybody was born at home.
Sure.
I was born in a car, so.
You
Yeah.
were.
Right.
Yeah, Jason and I, we'd gone out to
That's just,
going out to Colorado with our wives, and we were filling up our cars at the exit there at North Platte, and Jason and I was on
Now,
one
wait
side
a minute.
of the
Wasn't
pump.
it York?
no,
it was-
North Platte.
It was
Platte.
North Platte.
So I'm on one side of the pump, and Jason's on the other, and he looks up and says, "I was born just down the road." And I said, "Oh yeah, what town was that?" And he said, "No, on the road."
Is that true?
Yeah, yep.
Born in a car. They didn't make it to the hospital.
Didn't make it, so they were in school.
What was that? A
Curtis.
Dodge Dart?
Dodge Dart, yeah.
Well, shoot, that saved a hospital bill. A good deal.
According to my parents, they still went to the hospital. Still had to pay something.
So your dad then delivered you then?
Yep, yeah, yep.
Wow. That's quite a story.
Yeah, he was going 100 miles an hour, and she kept saying, "Go faster, faster." It was in the middle of the night, and then she said, "Can't go anymore. Stop."
He's always been quick like that.
Yeah, so you don't remember anybody telling you what kind of day it was then 94 years ago?
Oh, I really don't, I guess.
Yeah.
I know that things were an awful lot cheaper then.
Yeah. You know what time of day it was or morning
No,
or
I
night?
don't.
No. All right. Yeah, well, I guess our plan was to kind of go on into the future here and kind of talking about moving from the Walnut store to this current location. But I think you wanted to talk a little bit about something still at the Walnut store.
Well, what I wanted to talk about was all the while we were at the Walnut store, in fact, from 1939 to 1955, Ford only made one model tractor at a time. And in 39, it was the 9N tractor, and up to 48, it was 8N. And then in 53, it was a NAA, and then 55, they started making more models. But the 8N tractor had 10 designs that I thought of that all other tractors copied or came up with later on.
Still kind of using today, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the first to get on the tractor from between the wheels. All the others would climb on the back.
Yeah.
And then the three-point hitch, of course, they pioneered that. Draft control, pioneered that. The R meter, and let's see, a demand hydraulic. So it just you draw hydraulic only as you need it, which is standard pretty much today, and safety starter, adjustable rims for width,
Yeah.
and let's see, I can't hardly read my writing. Constant mistransmission, and a automotive or higher speed engine. All the older tractors had bigger bore and ran slow, and weren't as flexible. And so the 9N design was smaller engine running faster, which would put out equal power, and was actually more economical. So all those things you can find on
All tractors.
all
Yeah.
tractors
That's
today.
pretty interesting. Yeah.
So, but we were there in Walnut Street till for 11 years till 1955, and in '52, Dad went out or bought this property where we're at here now, about 3 acres, and it was the whole corner was 15 acres, and he bought this 3 acres for $5,250, and he could have bought the whole corner for $15,000.
That's in the whole corner would have been how many acres?
Well, it'd been about 15 acres.
Okay. Yeah.
And that would have been down from 10th Street all around the curve here, which would have been a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Would have been a good deal.
But money was scarce. We're lucky to come
Sure,
up with 5250.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
So then after he bought it, we put a fence around it. And then within about a year, put a Quonset building over here. And so we use it for warehouse and display used stuff. But actually, until we built the store, we also farmed the corner. We had corn down to the point.
Yeah.
And after we had the store built, we had guys come in and want to buy land off of us.
Wow.
And at one time we did rent some room here to a potato chip outfit where they came with their storage.
Yeah, I remember hearing that now. Kind of forgot
But
that.
when, of course, it was gravelled first, and in the spring of the year, when snow went off, on the west side of the building, it would just you could just get a truck stuck in there. It was awful. So, little by little, we started getting paving around here,
Yeah.
and so this original building was 60 feet wide by 112 long, and then later on built a 40-foot extension on the back. And we had two bids on building the building. One was from Allied Engineering, who was in town, and the other was from Henningsen. And the buildings were similar. There were block buildings, but the Henningsen building, which we went with, had a steel roof that was curved, and it gave a lot more room upstairs. It had only been 4 foot of clearance upstairs, where we always used for parts and storage and whatever.
Yeah.
So what year was this building built?
It was built in 1955.
Oh, in 55.
Started in at about, just as quick as they could work the ground, and we moved in August. So, after we built it, from it seemed like things kind of went slow, and of course it cost a lot of money, like $34,000, and we had to borrow most of the money, and so
Probably for a while wondered.
whether we did the right thing. We were the first implement business in town to move out on the edge, and one of the reasons that they could operate downtown, for one thing, every company had a warehouse where you didn't really have to order machinery ahead. You'd have a sample of it, but if you sold a certain tractor, we'd go to Des Moines and get it out of a warehouse, as well as all the other equipment. And that continued up until, about in the late 60s, I think it was. Then everybody started going direct, and you order what you think you'll need, and
What about these tractors coming in on the train?
well,
That was before 1960, wasn't it?
it was, but we had most of those sold, and so we ordered that load that way. We got them in. We got a special discount by getting them that way too.
I see.
So we got eight.
Now, where were they coming from then?
Well, they came from Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff was built
Right.
at Ford's plant,
Yeah.
and so but like I say, one of the reasons that Dad got enthused, and we all did, about expanding our business in 1955 was that we were getting different models, and the row crop type tractor, we had two models of those in two power sizes, and then two models in what the all-purpose size, whatever.
Yeah.
And corn pickers were a big deal, and so Ford was late getting into a two-row mounted corn picker. We'd had one row, which we sold a lot of, but of course everybody wanted something bigger, and particularly a mounted picker could go open a field, and besides, when that Ford picker came out, they advertised that it would get 2 bushel an acre out of the field above competition, and so we got called on that, and so I took a tractor and picker down to Morris Buherders, and he had an International M with I think it was a 2MH picker on it, and so we started out, and he took one row and I took the next one, and we picked till our wagons were full, and we come in and he had a scale. We ran them over, and we had 2 bushels.
Wow,
2 bushels more than he did.
Wow.
So it was designed so it was a popular picker. Of course, like I say, the economy was slow the first year, 55, last of 55, and all of 56. But we sold just a sprinkling of them. But then I think it was in 57, we began to sell more and more. And then they came out with kits that you could put them on other make tractors. So we put them on Alice Chalmers and IH and whatever. And so
What about employees here? How many employees were?
well, we
that
didn't
time.
have enough, I'll tell you that. Because one year, I think the year of 59, we sold 22 of those pickers, and they had to be put together and mounted on the tractor. And we just had everybody that was that had blood in them, helping do it,
Yeah.
parts and all.
Well, didn't you have a story you were putting a picker together on the west side of the building and a rep or somebody showed up and you
Yeah.
kind of discussed it and you were trying to get this picker done and told him you didn't really have time to talk and he ended up helping you, didn't he?
Yeah, that was Mel Dockery. He was the New Holland rep.
Okay.
He was a good friend, and so, like you say, I told him I didn't have time to even think about talking to him. So in a little bit, I hear he come with these coveralls on and helped us all. And
Nice.
we sold a picker to Bruce McLaren, and he had a case tractor, and so we never put one on a case tractor, but they had a kit that they claimed. I mean, just small companies that make these kits, and so we got this kit and went to put it on, and nothing would work on it. We just couldn't get anywhere with it. So finally, Bruce says, "Well, I'm going to go get Hugh Anstey, my neighbor's. He had a 961, which fit right on a Ford tractor without a kit." And I said, "Well, you suppose he'll let you?" "Oh, yeah, he will." So he went to call him, and he wasn't home. And so finally says, "Somebody run me down to get that tractor." And I said, "Well, you can't get it without him." Tell him, "Oh yeah, he won't care." So he gets it, put it on, and so you used his case to haul in corn, and so I'd say that's being pretty neighborly.
So those pickers, they fit on the front of the tractor?
Yeah, they mounted on the front, and so they were kind of a job. You had to get the tractor ready, spread out all the wheels, and there was a big cage went up front to keep the dirt out of the radiator, and
Now, is there a husking unit on the back of the tractor then, or
yeah, the Husky unit was on the back, and
so
the,
probably a frame on the back of the tractor that
I wonder
you
if you haven't
level
got a
up?
picture of it. I mean,
I don't know. What I'm envisioning are new ideas. I mounted a lot of new idea pickers, but not the Ford picker.
well, later on we took on New Idea, and they had a picker that
Yeah.
would not. It had some features that were way superior to the Ford, but still, as far as getting it out of the field, you couldn't beat the Ford. But the way they would mount on any tractor, and real simple, and they had a real good idea. And at that time, also, they had a sheller that went on the back,
Right.
so that became popular. But
So anyway, it was you. Was Verney working at that time?
Bernie was working,
Lyle.
Lyle Hyatt, and
So doing
Lawrence,
the books,
Lawrence Jensen,
Was Grandma Lindeman doing the books at that
Yeah.
time then? Yeah.
and Parts was Junior Woolhouse, and well, he was kind of general manager beside. So, but we didn't have much of a system on Parts, and it was always a problem to have the right.
Yeah.
And as far as our
So I suppose it was a card file system, kind of from the get-go.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
and our bookkeeping system was pretty crude too, compared to today. So
Right.
it, yeah,
How many other implement dealers were in town when you made the
there were 5 other dealers when we came to town, and little by little they left, and in 1985, well, about 1980, things really started to change quickly. The small farmers that farmed 80 acres or 160 or 125, whatever, all seemed to just kind of dry up and go out of business, and farms began to get bigger. So so the implement dealers that are most of our competitors, I'd say all of them, like John Deere and International at the time, and
Was there an Oliver too?
Oliver and Alice, and
Yeah.
they all had competition actually within in the county and real close. He had dealers, and there were in this county there were 4 John Deere dealers, and 4 of two or three of all the rest of them. In fact, there were in the county was 15 dealers, but we were the only one. We had a bigger territory, and so we'd been dealing in a lot wider area, and so we had been dealing with smaller farmers too, and all in all, it was kind of a tough time, but it didn't really shake us, not like it did all the rest of them.
Wow.
So eventually, all the rest of the dealers left town, and now we've got Caterpillar here, but that's all.
Yeah.
And but moving out here really made a difference. We had room then to trade for machinery and display it and sell it. Before we had to sell a lot of it on auction to get rid of it. And so little by little things picked up, and
There's a story about we got a new tilt bed, or was that a tilt bed truck, and we'd sold the truck we had, and expecting this new truck, and then it was on there was a train derailment in this truck.
well, we ordered a new truck from Ford from the factory.
Now, was that a tilt bed truck then that was coming,
Well,
or was that
of course, all they made is the chassis of the truck,
right?
and it was supposed to be sent direct to Minnesota, Lester Prairie, I think was it, to get this tilt bed put on it. So we had a guy that wanted our truck real bad, and would give us a good price, and we had a guy we were doing business with that had a tilt bed truck. That he was in the sod business, and so we asked him if he wasn't using it then, and that was probably February, or I don't know, maybe January. But anyway, so we sell this truck and rent this guy's. Well, our truck didn't come, and here come to find out there was a train wreck, and it wrecked the new truck on the way to Minnesota. And so then come time that he needed his sod truck, and we were up the creek. And I tell you what, I learned to never sell your machine that you're dependent on before you see the one to replace it.
So I guess what I was kind of wondering is, our first tilt bed, earlier they didn't tilt, they're just flatbeds. So, do you remember when our first tilt bed was? Because that simplified, changed everything, right?
Well, yeah. Of course, what we had before was just we had to make planks to go up.
That's what
on
I mean.
it.
You had just a
tilt at all.
flatbed with planks, but
It didn't tilt at all.
so how long after moving to this location did we get a tilt bed?
Well, I think let's see, about 1960 is when we got that. Yeah. And that was really a big improvement.
Yeah, would have been.
Yeah. So.
Weren't you hauling TRs on that thing eventually too, or?
Well, we did once. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. Well, we drove combines. When,
Yeah, I remember driving stuff long ways,
So when we
with no semi, or that's all you could do is
when we got selling combines, we always just drove them. And I'll tell you one thing about one fall when we had the TR twin rotor combine. We had sold one to a guy, and there again we were all right in harvest, and busy as all get out. And so I told the shop guys to get that one ready, and they said, "Which one is it?" I said, "Well, there's 4 combines out front, or there's combines out front, and it's the farthest one to the west." And so instead of like I should have got the number of it and everything. Well, unbeknown to me, right after I'd been out there showing that to the guy and selling it to him, they drove the demonstrator over to the west side. So what they do, but get that, it was pretty much ready, so they didn't do too much to it. And so we delivers that thing to him. And here he's got hours on, and it's not the one he went to. So I apologized and told him, but we let him use the demo until we could get the one he was supposed to get ready. So I'll tell you, so, and
Murphy's Law.
and we sold quite a few of those TRs. They were popular, and one time we were trading for quite a few Masseys. Massey had been really selling combines around here.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then, but they still had the conventional and didn't change theirs. In fact, the dealer went out of business, and so we were trading for a lot of Masseys. So Don Eiler and his son, who I'd never seen before, came in and talked to B.J. Riley, who was a salesman, and I was busy, and I just spoke to him. They came in, and so they were in there a while. In fact, he'd been out showing them a combine, but they were in there a while, and then they got up and left. Well, I was free at that time, and I went in and said, well, what's the deal? And he said, well, I couldn't quite get together with them. And I said, how far off? Well, it wasn't a whole lot. And I ran out the door, and they were backing out. And I ran to the car, and I says, hey, I said, we want to sell you guys a combine. And, well, we were trying, but you're, we don't like your price. And I said, well, what, being to talk about it. And I said, well, I tell you what, we'll give you real good service, and you will really like this TR combine, and let's just split the difference, and we'll put you into one of these combines. And as tough as he is, he says, oh, yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
Well, they've been good customers
Yeah,
ever
they have.
since.
Yeah.
They sold them about everything.
You betcha.
So I don't know what happened. I'm sure they'd have gone and bought another make combine we probably never
Change
never
the
see
future
them
right
again.
there. Yeah. Hey, let's take a short break here for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, we're back here, and we were talking about Eilers and how good of customers they were, and I think we've got a little more to talk about that.
Well, I told you that I told them we'd give good service. Well, don't you know, they just had it a day or so, and something happened in the transmission. And so they called up all disturbed, and so we sent a guy over there, and when we got over, we found out there was a broken gear in the transmission. And they were all excited and said, well, we should have bought a John Deere. And so as soon as we heard it, we had a combine on the lot here, and we got a couple guys out, and they took the transmission out. And by the time our man got back here, we were ready to load the transmission in his pickup. And so he took it back, put it in, and they weren't down more than 2 hours or 2.5 hours, whatever. And the funny thing was that on that transmission, it was built by John Deere, and it said John Deere right on the transmission. The first few combines had John Deere in it.
Now, they probably didn't see that, did they? Or no?
Well, yeah, they knew
It was pointed out that it was a John Deere transmission.
And then here's the rest of the story.
Yeah.
We were selling combines, and we sold every one but that one that had a transmission out of it. And so it was sitting back at the store, and we'd ordered one. And so
Ordered a transmission.
Yeah,
right?
a complete transmission.
Yeah.
So a guy come in, and in fact, it was Harold Brunk. And he was beginning to talk combine and whatever. So I went out and showed him that combine, and I was all the way out. I was thinking, how am I going to explain to him that there's no transmission in that thing? And so we were out and walked all around it and showed it whatever. And then we began to talk deal. We came back in. I never mentioned it. He never saw it. That it didn't have a transmission in it. Well, we went in. I got him sold to it because I knew that transmission was coming.
Yeah.
And it was there the next day. And
Got it all
and they
back
got
in.
already got all back together.
Yeah, good
So
as new.
he was a good customer
Yeah,
after that.
yeah.
One day, I think it was the last of a program day. I think it was October 31, and we sold 3 combines that day.
What year would that have been?
I think it was, let me see, it would have been 79, I think it was.
What was the first year of the TR?
The first year was 76. We only sold one in 76, and about 6 or 7 in 77.
See, that's about when I would have started full-time back.
And then we sold up to about 12 a year for a while.
Yeah,
So, of course, they were, I think the first price on one of them, the combine alone, was about 40,000.
Okay. Wow.
So,
yeah, like I said, we traded for a lot of Massey's and, some older Ford combines, and I
We,
remember driving the new one out and driving the used one back. Of course, the used ones
We,
didn't have air, smelled like mice,
We,
didn't go very fast.
we worked
Long ride.
As we trade for the Massey's, we had to put them up in shape, and so we bought quite a few parts. Well, we knew the dealer in Corinda quite well, and he gave us, I think, 10 or 15% discount on parts. And so, so I went to our dealer in town here, and he was whatever he was, but anyway, so I goes in and tells him that we're buying them down there for such a discount, and we just soon buy them from here. In fact, I says, I'll do it for a little less because we wouldn't have to go get them or give you a little. And he told me where I could go and what I could do. I remember went in and he was laying on a couch back in his office. And so I out there told him, and that's what he told me to same as get yourself out of here. So we continued to get him out of Corinda.
Yeah,
But
we traded for a lot of Massey's back.
So what about the Ford combines? Did you ever sell?
well,
any of
yeah,
those?
in 1965, combines began to shell corn and that, and so Ford made a deal with the Kloss company in Germany to build a combine with the Ford name on it and send it over here, paint them blue and paint them blue and whatever. So and they had 3 different sizes, and so we got one and sold it, and then we got some more, and we sold up to I think we sold about 21 of them in about 5 years maybe, and they were pretty good machine, although they weren't really. They kept updating them, but they weren't really made for corn. I mean, they're more of a grain machine, but they put a corn head on it. So, but none of the rest of the dealers around took a hold of them and got to selling them, and so they kind of get pretty tough to sell them. And then another thing that killed them, parts for them, they were all metric, and metric was something new around here, and they had a heavy gathering chain that was metric, and but they would wear out like everything, and when they did, they were about 3 times as high as a conventional and those type of things turned guys off. And,
Yeah.
and then besides that, by that time, New Holland had come with, first they had a good conventional combine, which we sold some. So, but while we were selling that cost Ford combine, we had sold enough that they picked out about 40 dealers to take us to Germany and tour the plant. And so I was one of those, and that was my first trip over into Europe. And so they just treated us royally there. We had a meeting with some of the VIPs of Klaus, and so they was asking us what we wanted for, So some guys saying that, they wanted it big, and yet they wanted a small silhouette. So the one guy says, "Oh, I see what you want. You want it bigger on the inside and smaller on the outside." But anyway, they took us around various castles and that. I remember they'd have about 4 or 5 glasses on your
Table.
plate,
Yeah.
But there wasn't one of them had water in it. It had beer and wine and everything you could think of.
Yeah.
But
Well,
not
I
water.
never drank any beer to speak of at all. But over there, if you didn't drink it, you wouldn't get something to drink.
Yeah.
But,
Took one for the team.
So you were looking at land too, or talking to
okay,
farmers
yeah.
at that
So
time too, huh?
on one of these tours, they took us out to a couple of different farms, and so they were a lot different than here. But so some of the dealers had asked the guys, "What's this land sell for?" And they'd say, "Well, it really don't sell. It's in the hands of people who don't sell it." Well, what if they ever do sell it? What's the price of it? Whatever. Oh, they said 10, 12, 15,000 an acre, and everybody's head flew back. I mean, our land here was selling for 300 or
Yeah.
almost 400 an acre,
Yeah.
and so I kept thinking about that. And on the way home, I thought, there's going to be a time when our land is going to get high priced.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if a guy had an opportunity, maybe, he ought to buy a farm for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I come home and told, well, about that time, there was a 240 acres for sale down by Fletcher, and pretty nice farm. And so I told, and they wanted $425 an acre for it. And so I told my dad, I said, "Dad, we ought to go think about buying that." Oh, he said, "Land's too high." Of course, he'd lost a farm
Sure.
at 200 an acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but then I told him what farm it was. Well, he, as a young man, as a hired man, had worked for the guy, and he'd farmed on that farm with horses.
Huh.
And so, so we go down there and look at it, and it had buildings and whatever. And he had a friend that had rented a farm that couldn't find one, and this was the latter part of February, and this guy was desperately looking for a farm to move on to. And so, all in all, I said, "Dad, I'll scrape up half the down payment if you do, and we'll buy that farm on a 10-year contract." And so, okay, we did, and this guy moved on. Well, the guy lived there 10 years, and the rent that he paid those payments on the farm, and so all we ever did pay for it was our down payment.
Yeah. Nice.
And so it turned out to be
Yeah.
kind of turned out as a pretty good deal. So
You still have that farm today?
still have it, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, what you saw over there in Europe kind of came true here. I mean, land.
Well,
is,
it surely did.
There's only so much of it, and
I wonder what price is over there now.
I wonder
that high
too.
here.
Wonder.
I wonder too.
What it is in Europe, yeah, I wonder.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, how many years ago was that you were over
That was in that was in 1969.
Okay, yeah. It's probably double that over there
Oh, yeah.
now.
I bet it is.
Yeah. So I remember, like I say, that was, well, not one of my first air flights, but it was the first one over Europe. But I remember when I was on the dealer council 2 different times of Ford. And one of the first times that I was called to go to Detroit, we were just as busy as we could be. It was corn planting time, I think it was, spring of the year anyway. And so we needed everybody we had. So I told the guys, I don't see how I can get away. They says, go ahead, we'll handle things. We can do it. So I goes to Omaha morning and gets on the plane and takes off. It was a nice clear morning, and I get up there and I flew over. I could just see Atlantic and see Audubon and see all over and you know, thing. I just gotta relax, settle back. Why? That don't look important at all down there. Yeah, the cars look like bugs and whatever. I mean, I felt like I didn't have a care in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I learned something too on that dealer council. I represented a district, and there were six districts, and Canada had 2 districts, so there were 8 of us, and we each had 10 at our district meeting where I was elected to go. We had 10 resolutions or things that we would like to
Bring
have
out
done.
and talk about. Yeah.
So at the dealer at the national level, why then that was condensed down to about 20 that they would consider. Well, we had to negotiate, and I found out that the Midwest, what I was represented, was interested in corn planters and this and that and other, and California or Georgia or whatever, they had something altogether different than we wanted.
Right.
So I learned then that you got to make friends with your buddies and help them now and then, so they'll help you back.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way it worked. And the guys in Montana were wanting a 4-wheel drive tractor, and they had already in Georgia made a 1-row tractor for peanuts and whatever, with a little cultivator on it. Yeah. And so I told the guys there, the officials, I says, well, if you can make a 1-row tractor for Georgia and peanuts, why don't you help out Montana? Well, that drew me some points, so I got help from both of those guys. So,
Nice.
Politics.
Yeah.
one thing
right.
they were wanting, all other companies had a volume discount. At the end of the year, they give you, depending on how much you sold, they give you a small percentage of money. And so Ford didn't have that, and they didn't have any discounts other than just regular discounts, and so that was a big deal that everybody asked for, or in fact our guys too. And so the company come out and explained that and said, well, we'll give you a volume discount, but we're already giving it to you. So if you want a volume discount, we'll hold back some of your discounts that you got now and send it to you at the end of the year. And so
That didn't go over very well.
that killed that pretty quick.
Yeah.
Some of the guys were still arguing for it. And I said, well, listen, guys, if you send me 4% of your sales, I'll hold it toward the end of the year and then be glad to send it to you. So anyway,
Interesting.
so one thing about Ford, you knew what your cost was, and
Yeah.
you didn't have to hope that you maybe get some more volume at the end of the year.
Yeah. Right.
So,
All right. Well, we've ran about another 18 minutes or so
Yep.
here. So why don't we wrap her up for today and save something for next time?
okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Happy birthday again.
Yeah, happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Yeah.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.